Hey there, I'm Mags, also known as the Marketer Whisperer. If you've ever felt the doubts and pressures of leadership starting to sap your confidence and passion for this amazing job, then this podcast is for you. As a former marketer myself, I've lived through the chaos of consumer brands for over 16 years, so I do get what you're going through. And that's enough to leave any smart and driven marketer feeling like a burnt out version of their former self. But it doesn't have to be this way. So on this show, I'll be sharing pragmatic tips and also real stories to help you feeling confident, creative, and passionate about marketing leadership again. Hey, do you ever notice that voice in your head that never seems to shush? You know, the one that always has something to say about everything you do or that you don't do. The one that sounds like a grumpy old teacher or a nagging parent. Yeah, that one. Well, guess what? It's not your friend. Despite everything you've heard from people saying that it's there to defend you, it's actually not trying to help you or make you better. It's just a bunch of negative and judgmental nonsense that you picked up from somewhere along the way in your life and in your career. And it's holding you back from being awesome, an awesome leader. So your inner monologue is basically the voice in your head that narrates your thoughts, your feelings, and also your actions. And it really can be a helpful tool when you want to understand yourself better, but it can also be a source of self-criticism and a source of doubt. And you can learn about yourself by paying real attention to your inner monologue and noticing what it says, how it says it, and also why it says it. And it's a lot of conscious work you've got to do, but it's really worth a while. You can also challenge your inner monologue if it is negative or inaccurate and replace it with more positive and realistic messages. It's called reframing. And I do that with my clients when I coach them. Self-awareness is basically the ability to recognize and to reflect on your own emotions, your thoughts, your behaviors, your values, and also your goals. And that applies to life and also work. And it's really important for personal growth, your mental health, interpersonal relationships, and also the leadership you want to kind of mature. You can develop self-awareness by writing down your beliefs, so what you really believe is really important in your life and what stories and how you see the world, basically, and writing down the assumptions that you have about yourself and the world. You know, your colleagues, the company you're working for, your family, your friends, the people that you don't even know how life is. And when you examine them for evidence and validity, you'll realize a lot of things. You can also ask for feedback from others. That's something we do quite regularly with really good organizations. It's the 360 feedback. When you ask people, your colleagues, your boss, direct reports, but also your family and friends who know you in the good and the bad days. They may not be with you in the workplace, but they have also the positive and negative impact of your behaviors, your thoughts, your feelings, based on the stress or the happy moments you have at work. You can also practice mindfulness and try new experiences. But one way I wanted to bring about to think about self-awareness is to use the analogy of a map and a territory, right? So kind of stay with me here. A map is a representation of a territory, right? A map is a representation of a territory, but it's not the same as the territory itself. Because, a map is useful, first of all, for navigating the territory. So think of a country. But it can also be very inaccurate, incomplete, and outdated. Think about sometimes you may have used the GPS and actually you got to a dead-end street because the map wasn't updated with the reality of the territory. People have changed their mind and kind of closed a road, and the map wasn't updated. So therefore your navigation was inaccurate. So similarly, back to ourselves, your self-awareness is a representation of your reality, right? Your personal understanding is a representation of the life you're living, the work you're doing, in your organization. But it is not the same as your reality. And basically, your personal understanding, your self-awareness can help you understand yourself, your actions, but it also can be distorted, biased, and limited, such as a real map, of a territory I've just said, can be. So we should always be open to updating our map, if I may say like that, based on new information, feedback, and new insights we got from the territory, which is, our work, working with our colleagues and our lives, the stage of our life we're in today. I guess the map you have of the world at your age right now today is probably not the exact same than the map you had of the world, your friends, your family, and work 10 years ago. And it probably won't be the same in 10 years' time. But don't worry, there's a way to deal with, that nagging voice. And it's not by ignoring it or fighting it. Actually, I've talked to a couple of clients, and some of them were saying, I just go to my room and I isolate myself, and that way I just kind of deal with the problem. And in fact, what they're doing is to find distractions and to ignore what's going on. It will come back at some point. And in fact, you've got to face it in order to deal with it. So with the inner voice, it's by listening to it. And yes, you heard me right, listening to it. Why? Because listening to that voice will help you understand yourself better. Personal understanding has to be, I would really say, has to be the number one strength you must have in life. And therefore, on a CV, offering it to the next company you're going to want to work for. It will help you see what you really think, what you really feel about yourself, about collaboration, about the brands you're looking after, about the people around you, the world around you. And it's going to help you spot the gaps between what you say and what you do. There may be gaps you're not necessarily seeing. So therefore, the map you have of you might not be fully accurate right now. It's probably missing a few bits. And it's by doing this conscious work that you're going to complete and update the map, which is going to be more close to the territory of you, which is your real you. It will help you change the things that are not working for you and keep the things that are working for you. And you can be in control of that only when you understand where you are. So it sounds good, right? And it is. It's not really hard to do. Sometimes it takes some practice. Sometimes it takes time, and sometimes it takes also someone else to kind of bounce off things off. You need to be curious, you need to be courageous at time, and you really need practice. And maybe a pen and paper if you're old school like I am. So how do we listen to our inner voice? So we're going to take a couple of steps to get you started. Right. So first of all, find a quiet place at a time where you can be alone and relaxed. So not disturbed, no social media pings and notifications. Let your dog in the garden for a while until you do this, and you've got really a really quiet place to do this exercise. You may close your eyes and take a few deep breaths and ask yourself a question that you want to explore. And because I'm not with you in this moment, and like on a call, I don't know what you want to explore, but that could be something like, what do I want from life? Or how do I feel about my job? Or something like, what am I afraid of? So what's the question? And as I'm speaking, have a think. What's the question you want to explore? And then the next step is to listen to the first thing that pops into your head when you ask yourself this question. And please don't judge it. You probably will, but put that judgment aside. Don't dismiss the first thing that pops into your head. Just let it be. It's really important. We're not here to critique anything at this stage. And maybe you want to write down what you heard, word for word in your head. So don't change the words. Just write down exactly what popped into your head. And then repeat these steps until you have a list of answers. It's really important. Once you're ready, read your list and look for patterns, for themes, or an insight. There might be something coming out of all these answers, a kind of a foundation, a common link. If you join the dots, you might find that pattern. And ask yourself what these answers mean to you and how they affect your actions and decisions. And it could be at work or in life. I'm mostly kind of interested in leadership, but a lot of the work that we do with my coaches apply to their life as well, because we don't really behave that differently at work than we do in life. So then one of the last steps is really to decide what you want to do with this information. Do you want to change something? Do you want to accept something? Or maybe you want to learn something. So what's the action you want to take out of this exercise? And if I went a little bit too fast, just replay the podcast back to the first step, which was to find a quiet place and time where you can be relaxed and undisturbed. And that's it. You've really, this is an easy exercise, and that really enables you to listen to your inner voice and learn something new about yourself. So congratulations, you're one step ahead and your map has been updated, hopefully, versus a couple of minutes ago. Now, don't get me wrong, listening to your inner voice is not a magic bullet that will solve all your problems or make you happy overnight, right? It's a process that takes time and conscious effort. And I say conscious because you really have to put the work and the time into it. You won't run a marathon without practicing on a regular basis. That's just, you want to enjoy it, you probably will hit the wall if you do even get to that stage. And it's just a bit silly. So putting the conscious work is what gets you there. And sometimes it can also be quite uncomfortable or even scary with what you discover. But these steps and these uncomfortable feelings are amazing. And trust me, it's really worth it. Listening to your inner voice will help you become more self-aware, more emotionally intelligent, and more authentic as a leader and as a person. So what you're waiting for, if you've not done it during the course of this podcast, go ahead. Thank you for joining me on another insightful episode of The Marketing Whisperer. If you found value in this episode, I'd be so grateful if you could leave a rating and a review on the podcast app of your choice. It really would help me reach more marketing leaders like you who could benefit from these insights in return. And I'd love if you would join upon my community of marketing leaders. All details are available on my website, startingblockscoaching.com. And lastly, if you're seeking one-to-one coaching, group workshops maybe for your team, leadership training, marketing expertise or career advice, basically everything that makes you a better marketing leader, feel free to get in touch with me on LinkedIn. Search for Magali Leroux. I don't know how else to pronounce it to make it easier. Speak soon.